Hi, and welcome to MS-4023. Explore Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. In this course, we, the business users, are going to get acquainted with Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. We are going to see how the full potential of our AI assistant can help us be more productive, creative, and collaborative. This course was designed for you, the business user interested in getting to know the basics of Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat and use it daily. My name is Elias Estevam. I am a principal trainer for Microsoft. I really enjoy teaching these classes, particularly the Copilot classes, because it opens all the potential of the use of generative AI in our daily to-do lists. In today's course, we are going to cover three specific areas. First, we are going to get to know Copilot Chat. We're going to discuss what it is, how it can assist us. Let's also talk about the areas where Copilot is going to act, in this case, the licenses as well. Let's also talk about the interface. How do I start chatting? And then in module number 2, we are going to write effective prompts. We're going to look at the 4 areas of how to create effective prompts. And we are going to also talk about the prompt gallery, where is a curated amount of prompts for us to use and add additional prompts if we need to. And finally, we are going to go to module number 3, where we are going to use not only the Copilot on a regular basis for our chat, but we are going to learn how to be more collaborative. We're going to have some simple prompts for that, and we are going to also use Copilot pages, where we can collaborate with our team and leverage the output of Copilot in this interaction. And we are going to close the module with the Copilot agents. So we're going to learn how to create agents to streamline our processes. I want to remind you that the content of our session is readily available in Microsoft Learn, and I will give you a demonstration of this access in a moment. Now let's start with module number 1. Let's get to know a little bit more about Copilot Chat. So what is Copilot Chat? Copilot Chat is your AI assistant at work. So Copilot Chat is grounded on the large language models and is also going to be grounded on the web. So all the content that we are going to be talking about in Copilot Chat is going to be grounded on the web. If you have the licensed version of Copilot Chat, you would also be grounded on work modules. In this particular session, we are going to focus on the version that is grounded on the web, the free version that comes with your Microsoft 365 license. Now remember that your Copilot Chat, let's talk about the features that it will have and how it's going to help you be more productive. Let's also talk about when and how to use it, how to access the work mode or the web mode. Let's discuss the interface, and of course, let's also talk about the enterprise data protection, which ensures that your data is your data. So when we talk about Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat, knowing that is your AI assistant, it has a specific module that is going to allow you to communicate and have this interactive discussion with Copilot. This is specifically for your work. Now, I did mention the 2 versions of Copilot Chat that is available. Our focus for today is going to be on the Copilot Chat that is free with your Microsoft 365 license. Again, it is grounded on GPT-4 and GPT-5, which is your large language model. You also have agents. You have access to agents, but in this version, those agents are going to be metered. So many organizations would like to use the paid version for agents. The free version, you are going to be paying as you go, pay as you use. At the same time, you still have your IT controls, and you also have access to Copilot pages. Once you acquire the licensed version of Microsoft 365 Copilot, now you have even greater access to the Microsoft 365 applications. So now I can use Copilot Chat across multiple of my applications like Word, PowerPoint, Teams, Excel. For example, there is a lot of integration between these applications, and I also have a lot more collaboration a lot more control and access across these applications. Again, our focus is going to be on the included version. When we talk about the license for your Copilot Chat, the free license is this version that we are discussing right here, the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Notice that this version does not have the personal assistance, which means I cannot use interactively across my Microsoft 365 applications. But I do have access to access the chat from those applications. We are going to be seeing that in a demonstration in a couple minutes. Again, if you acquire the licensed version, then you have access to all of these applications, plus you also have additional controls and access across your entire Microsoft 365 ecosystem. Now, how do I access my Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat? Well, from your browser, I can go to Microsoft365copilot.com, or I can access m365.cloud.microsoft.com. And this will give you access to Copilot Chat, your interface, your AI assistant to be more productive. Also notice that when you access your Copilot Chat, always pay attention to this symbol. This is the enterprise data protection that ensures that this conversation is protected and it is safe. You can also access from your Edge browser. So from your Edge browser, you will notice that I have the Copilot Chat button on the right-hand side, and I can access that and start chatting right from that interface. Now, we can also access Copilot Chat directly from Outlook. So in Outlook, I do have the Copilot Chat button right there, and I can access. I can also go to Microsoft Teams, which I also have on the left-hand side. I have access to my Microsoft Copilot Chat. Now, if you prefer, and if you have the license, I can also download the desktop version of Microsoft 365. I can install it, and I can also install on my mobile devices. And I can begin using Copilot Chat from those mobile devices as well. Now, starting in September 2025, we have begun to deploy Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat and access that across your, I would say, content-aware Microsoft applications. So now I can go to Excel, I can go to PowerPoint, and from there, I can access Copilot Chat just as I did from my web browser. The only difference is there, it is a content-aware access, which means I can speak to the content that is open. So if you have an Excel spreadsheet or a presentation that's open, I can have a conversation with that document. I am going to demonstrate this in the next couple minutes, but it's a great way for us to be a lot more interactive with our documentations when we are at work. So now I can summarize, I can have a conversation with my open documents. Now let's talk about the Microsoft Copilot Chat interface. We are going to start up here on the top right-hand corner. Every time you see that little symbol there, that's the Enterprise Data Protection. Very next to Start Your New Chat button. When you open your Copilot Chat interface and you click Start a New Conversation, any conversation you had previously opened, it's going to go to your chat history. So you can start a new conversation. It is a new protocol, a new discussion. Everything else goes to your conversation history. I can start talking to my Copilot Chat by going to the prompt box. This is where you're going to enter your prompts right here. And remember that I can also add context. I can add agents, I can add documents to this conversation. We're going to see that in our demonstration. In the same point, I can also look at dictation. We have started this dictation, so now I can have a conversation with my Copilot. Instead of just typing, I can also use my microphone and I can have a conversation with Copilot Chat. Below the Copilot, below the chat interface, I also have these sample prompts. These suggested prompts, they come from the Prompt Gallery, which we are going to be covering in module number 2. Also, on the left-hand side, we are going to find the agents. And these are the agents we are going to be discussing on module number 3 as well. So this is the area that I'll be able to find my agents and also do my configuration and look at my chat history. On the top, we are not going to see these two buttons because our version is available for the free version. So I don't have the work mode and the web mode. But if I have the license, I will have the toggle button that says work mode. All the conversation is in my work. All talk to my tenant and my conversation at work. And if it is the web, all the conversation is going to go on the web. So this button, as I mentioned, we are not going to see that because we are using the free version. Now, how do I start my conversation with my Copilot Chat? Simple. I can just open up the chat area and I can start having a conversation. It's like when you met your new friend. You can start with a simple, hey, what's going on? I can then begin to have my conversation. I could start like doing a surfing on the web. I can start asking about questions about cities, about content, summarizing websites and documents. As simple as that. But it's important for us to also check for accuracy, check the sources. And Copilot Chat is designed for that. So every time you're having a conversation, an interaction with your Copilot Chat, Microsoft will provide you the list of those references. So if I'm asking for a quick roll down on a particular site or particular group of sites, Microsoft is going to give you a list of those locations as well. Always check them for accuracy. And also remember that from a conversation perspective, sometimes we think, oh, I want to be able to create very convoluted, large prompts, but it's best to have a conversation, right? Have an interaction with your Copilot Chat. I can ask, I have a conversation, maybe I want this to be a little lengthier, I want a conversation to be more proper or more conversational, maybe I want this to be more specific, so I can have a conversation, I can leverage the suggested prompts, and I can then ask for additional content. So it's always a good idea to be able to do this. Give me more detail, be more specific. I always try to use this from a conversational perspective. We did talk about the data protection, and I did mention that from an enterprise data protection, we call this keeping your enterprise data safe. So it's important to know that all conversation you're having with your Copilot is between you and your AI assistant. So from an enterprise data protection, we ensure that all the conversation here is going to be encrypted. Also from a privacy by design, that means this is your data and stays your data. Microsoft is not using for any training of the models or in any way the data or the conversation you are having or your prompts. Also remember that from access and control, if your organization is using, in this case, permissions or sensitivity labels, Microsoft will adhere to those. So if this is a sensitive document and you are having a conversation with Copilot, it's going to maintain that sensitivity. If you create a general document, Copilot is going to create or maintain the document in that format as well. And remember that from a regional compliance, we talked about dozens of data centers that we have. So Microsoft will follow that processing. If it stays on that particular region, that's where we are going to process these prompts and this content. So now that we have seen how Copilot is and what the interface looks like, how about a quick demo on Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat? Here we are in my browser, and I'm going to access Microsoft Copilot Chat by going to m365copilot.com. And here we go. I am ready to start chatting with Copilot. Notice on the top right-hand corner, I have my enterprise data protection symbol, which means this conversation is private and it is secure. Next to it, I have my start a new conversation. Again, every time I click this button, a new conversation will start. And I also have the Try GPT-5. And here I see GPT-5 is on my interface. Below that, I have my prompt area. And below the prompt area, I have my sample prompts that came from the prompt gallery that we are going to be covering on module number 2. Again, to the left, I have my conversation, and I have access to my agents. So let's start talking with Copilot Chat. I did mention that Copilot Chat here only has the connection to the web. So let's do a quick search. Let's ask, for example, what is the weather in Seattle? What is the current weather in Seattle? Now, Copilot knows that I'm talking about Seattle, Washington, because of where I am calling from. So here it is. It talks about the temperature, the humidity, and also it mentioned about the sources. It uses the MSN weather. I could have used other sources, but this is the one that was used for this conversation. And with that, it gave me the forecast and it gave me some options as well. Now remember, for the context of this conversation, it knows that I'm talking about Seattle, Washington, so I can continue this conversation. Supposedly, I am in Seattle for one day and I want to see what to do. So I can tell Copilot, I am here for one day. Any suggestions? So it knows that, suggestions for you to do in one day in Seattle. So Copilot comes in and says, well, maybe in the morning, you could go to the Pike Place. Maybe you can walk the waterfront. You have the midday, maybe lunch, and then the afternoon and in the evening, maybe catch a show, some cocktails, some live music. So it keeps the context of this conversation. And again, at any time, I click the new conversation button. Remember that the previous conversation stays in my conversation history. And this is your conversation. It's not being shared and it is not being compared by anyone else in your organization. Now, this is our work mode. Work interface, not the work mode. It's still web mode, but it's our work, right? So let's do some work in here. So let's move on to, we start talking about the weather. Let's talk about serious project management. Now, I am going to ask Copilot to function as a project manager. So I'm going to set the stage for this new task. I'm going to ask to use the latest PMI standards and draft a project plan for a new solar power baby stroller. So I have a big new project and I want Copilot to create a project plan for me for this project. So let's see what Copilot is going to do. So there we go. Copilot Chat is going to go out there, is going to look at the Pembroke, and it found Pembroke version 7, and it draft a project plan for me. That is the project overview. I have the performance domain. I have my teams, my development, the planning, the project work, delivery, and of course, I have the milestones. So if I am in the project management and I need to create a draft very quickly, you notice that Copilot was able to save me tons of time. Now I can start a new conversation and keep that project plan aside. Or let's say, for example, that now that I have this project plan, I'd like to create a document for it. So there are a couple ways that I can do that. One of the ways is I can create a page. We are going to do that in module number 3. But maybe I can simply ask Copilot to put this content into a Word document. So I can tell Copilot, say, please create a Word document, a docx of this plan. So it's going to take the content of this plan and is going to create a Word document for me. Once that document is created, I can save the document in my OneDrive. I can share with my team. I can collaborate with that document. And here it is. I have my solar power project docx. I can click on it. I can open the file, and this is going to open Microsoft Word. And here it is. I have my document ready. This is my solar-powered baby stroller project. I have all the sections readily available, the plan work, the delivery, the measurements, and of course, the milestones. Again, I can apply sensitivity to my document, I can save it, and I can share with my team. And I can also use Copilot here and have a conversation about my document. We'll see this in a couple minutes. But this button in my Microsoft Word also opens my Copilot Chat, and I can have a conversation about this open document. But I have one more thing to show you before we can talk about the Copilot Chat in your M365. So you saw that I was able to have a conversation with Copilot and then create a document from this project plan that was drafted. Now, supposedly I have some existing documents and I want Copilot to do its magic, to summarize, extract insights from these documents. I can do that as well. Even though this is the free version with my Microsoft 365, I can also upload content. These could be files, could be images, could be content. I can ask to describe an image, read a handwritten note, for example, create images like other documents. So let's say, for example, if I start a new conversation, and now I want Copilot to, let's say, for example, I need you to, let's say, supposedly Copilot is a great document summarizer. Summarize this document in, let's say, 4 bullet points and a max of, let's say, 300 words. Perfect. So I want to summarize this document in 4 bullet points and 300 words. So now I can upload a document. I can add a Word content, upload files, attach cloud files, or even chat with agents. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and upload a document. In this document, notice that I have a few of them. I have, let's say, for example, purchasing permissions, sales memo, credit card. Let's pick this purchasing permission. I want to be able to know if I can purchase a certain amount of content, and I want to summarize that. So here I am asking Copilot to do that, summarize this document, and this is the document I am discussing. I could have added additional documents as well, but I want to add just one. So go ahead and do its magic. So there it is. Authorizing, who's going to be authorized. Maybe if I have a bank account, a credit card, I'll be able to do that. Of course, these are fake numbers, so don't worry about it. I can share that in this example. But Copilot was able to, in 4 bullet points, summarize the content of my document, the purchasing. Now, you can see that it was easy for me to get a content and summarize or create new content with Copilot Chat. I did mention that we also have access to Copilot Chat on specific applications. So one example that I want to give you now is the ability to go to, let's say, for example, an Excel spreadsheet and launch Copilot Chat and have a conversation with your open document. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to open up my Excel, and here it is. I have my Excel spreadsheet, and with that, I have this EV sales. Notice that I have my dates, I have my products, product names, my categories, my sales, and up here on the top, I have Copilot Chat. When I click on Copilot Chat, the interface will open, and now I can have a conversation with my open document. So let's say, for example, I want to find out which one of my products has the highest revenue. Well, the document is open. Copilot is able to talk to it. So let's ask, which product has the highest, oops, sorry about that, my mouse is in the front, highest revenue, right? Which product has the highest revenue? So Copilot is going to allow to review all the documents, all the pages, and then it's going to say, based on the revenue, I can see that the fast chargers category total 27 million. That's our best option. So I could have other conversations. Which one is the best that was sold in a particular month, right? Let's say, for example, what is the total sales for this product in, let's say, July, right? So it's going to look at it in terms of the month of in 2024, and it's going to look at July, and it's going to give me the total sales for that month for the product that is the fast charger, for example. Here it is. The total revenue for fast charger in July, this is the total. So I can have a direct conversation with my open document. Excellent. Now, to close this module, let's conclude it with what we call the real-time quiz. And we are going to use Copilot for that. this knowledge check, we are going to set the stage for Copilot Chat. So first, notice the context of this prompt. And it uses some of the features that we are going to be discussing in the next module. First, notice what we did in here. We are going to ask Copilot to function as a Copilot expert. Then we are going to ask to create 3 multiple choice questions about accessing Copilot, the features, the access, and the different modes, also how to start it, and the concepts of enterprise data protection. Now, we want to present one question at a time and then wait for our response before continuing. And after each answer, we want to provide a brief explanation of the choice and then go on to the next question. So let's see how we can run this prompt using our Copilot Chat. Let's start a new conversation. And here's my prompt. Let's paste it in there. Excellent. Now, when I execute this prompt, remember, this is for you, and you can modify this prompt to make it even easier. You can increase the number of questions. You can increase the number of options. You can also put at the end, tally my responses and give me a link to Microsoft Learn so I can continue my learning strategy as well. So this is what it's going to look like. So you have the first question. Here it is. And you have your options. And I will pick an option that is the wrong one so we can see what Copilot is going to do. Question number 1. How can a user access Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat in Microsoft 365 applications like Word and Excel? I'm going to say that by enabling developer mode, which is not true. But let's see what Copilot is going to do. So let's say option D and go. So Copilot is going to evaluate and say, well, in reality, B, or in this case, C, is the best option. You should be able to use that using the ribbon on the Microsoft 365 apps. It gave us the explanation, and it went on to the next question. So we are going to share these prompts with you so you can further enhance your learning. But this is a great way to solidify your learning using real-time quizzes with Copilot. So in summary, what have we seen on this module? So for module number 1, we started with describing the key features of Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. What is the benefit? Now I have my AI assistant with me. I am still in control, but I have someone that can help me do a lot more, be more creative and productive. We also discussed the access to Microsoft 365. We saw how we can access from my browser, from the applications. We distinguished between the work mode and the web mode. We only focused on the web mode. We also learned about the navigation, the options in our interface. And finally, we talked about the data protection. Your data is your data. And we had a great demonstration of Copilot Chat as well. Welcome to Module 2. In this module, we are going to discuss writing effective prompts. And of course, we're going to see how to achieve optimal results with those writings. So we talked about writing prompt. Prompt is the way that I can interact with Copilot. In Copilot Chat, if I know exactly how to communicate and how to use these prompt best practices, we are going to be a lot more effective in our writing content. In this module, we are going to discuss writing effective prompts. And this is to really help us optimize the results from our prompting. We know the prompt is the way that we get to interact with Copilot. So here we are going to look at the elements, what makes for a great prompt. So when I'm talking about writing more effective prompts, there are ways that I can do that. There are some elements, there are some best practices. So here we are going to learn about the 4 elements, like the context, the goal, for example, the source, and of course, the expectation. We are going to talk about the best practices and the do's and the don'ts. And we are going to discuss some prompting, we call prompting mistakes, things that we should avoid when we are prompting. And finally, we are going to learn about the prompt gallery. So when I am creating a prompt, I did mention that there are some specific areas that I want to focus on. First is the context. Very much like we saw on my quiz. I said, put your thinking hat like a project manager or an expert in Copilot. This is why. And we do this because when I have my AI assistant having a conversation, it's going to be a different conversation, a different dialogue, summary, or word choices that will be used if I have a conversation with my C-suite or my partners or my teams or my customers or my investors. So it is a good idea to set the stage for this conversation. Why I want you to do this. The next is the goal. What exactly I want Copilot to do? In this case, I want a response because I want a short. I want to be able to get Copilot to summarize this content or make it shorter, make it longer. You decide what the goal is. Maybe just create some multiple choice questions. And then is the source. The source is maybe there is a document that I want you to use for that. Maybe there's a website. For example, in our previous demonstration, we took a document and we asked to summarize that document in 4 bullet points and in 300 words. And that's exactly the expectation. The expectation is how I want you do this. Could be in a table format, could be in a bullet point, could be in the Harvard Business Review approach, for example. So these are the ingredients, or what I call the elements of a great prompt. Now, here's an example of a prompt for that. Look at the context, the goal, the source, and the expectation. First part, I'm asking Copilot, I work in a marketing, and I want you to focus on competitive research, right? That's the setting the stage, marketing, competitive research. Give me a concise summary of a recent news, maybe the last week. So in this case, could be the last week about company X. So a concise summary about company X. What is the source? I want to focus on articles from the last 2 months, for example. That's the source of that information. Go there, look for the news source, reputable news, and bring me that summary. And finally, I want you to provide answers to 2 or 3 paragraphs and use business tone. So you can see the clear areas of the prompt that makes for a more effective prompt. Now, based on these elements, let's look at some of the best practices. I did mention in terms of the prompting, I want really to be clear and be specific about what I want it done. Summarize this document, or bring me 3 bullet points, or extract concise content from this document or this website. Also, keep it conversational, right? If I need more, I will say more. Make it shorter, make it longer, make more conversational with your AI interface. Give examples. Every time you give an example is a great way to get good results. If you have good examples, say so. I want you to do it in this format. Here's an example 1, example 2. Also, ask questions. Ask for feedback. Remember, Copilot is the best prompt writer that is. So in that case, you could very well say, hey, does this sound like a good example? Or give me some examples that are like this one. So you can ask for feedback. Does this sound like the appropriate format for this discussion, this demo, this email? Try to write legibly, although sometimes it's not necessary, right? Copilot is going to understand a lot of those things. You saw that I made some mistakes in my writing, but Copilot can overcome those concerns. He knows how to write in various languages. But also check for accuracy. What's coming back? Does it sound right? It is AI generated, so we should always check for your consistency. And also provide details. The more details that I can provide, this is looking really good. I like what you've done. Do more of it. And finally, iterate. If you want different, this is good, but I want longer, I want shorter, I want more personal, right? I want more, give more feeling on that conversation. It's very important. Now, there are some things that we want to avoid. Be vague, for example. Even in my project plan, you realize that I said just is the name of my project plan. The budget, the names, the locations, everything else, Copilot just filled in. So the more I can provide that, the better it will be for my results. At the same time, request inappropriate, or in this case, unethical content. Copilot is prepared to not answer, not receive, or provide that kind of output. It's a business language. So the use of slangs, for example, jargons, unless you're really looking for a particular informal language or a way to say something, it's inappropriate to use that in a business context. also give conflicting information. Copilot wants to be precise. Give specific what you want, but if I say do 4 and do 6 at the same time, it's going to be like, wait a second, which one do you want, right? And of course, anytime you change the subject, you want to start a new conversation. If I am talking about the business plan and the project management, and now I talked about clothing or something else, unless they are truly related, separate them. Start a new conversation. All right? With that, let's talk about some samples of some prompts in here. A good example, like if I am going to use my Copilot Chat and it is a web interface, right? Let's say, for example, revise some content. You do have a paragraph, or I may have some content. I can paste that paragraph in my prompt area, and I can ask Copilot, make it more concise, more effective, right? More formal. Generate new ideas. You saw, for example, if I am in Seattle and I want places to go, things to see, I can do that. Maybe there's a list of fun things that I want to do that. Also, start your research. Maybe I want to be able to research specific content on specific areas. I can do that. What about code? Copilot is excellent for code. Maybe I want to write a SQL statement, a Python. I want to convert that. I want to translate that content. It is excellent for it. And of course, draw conclusions, right? Help me analyze this content, this website, or these documents across the document. Makes sense. Yeah, sometimes it's good for me to look at one spreadsheet, but maybe I have so many documents, and Copilot can really reason across all of those. A couple more examples. This is in a workplace, right? If I am using with my license, for example, maybe I want to check the schedule. I also want to do some, maybe I have some company acronyms that I want to find out, check my emails based on my chats, my conversations. So if I do have my Copilot 365 license, I can use prompts such as these, for example. One of the things that I mentioned before is the Copilot Prompt Gallery. Prompt Gallery is great. It's a prompt repository. Sometimes I want to look at some good examples of prompts, or I want to create my own and share with my team. That's exactly what the Copilot Chat, Copilot Gallery will provide you. Curated, I can enhance that, I can save, I can reuse, I can add it, I can collaborate with my prompts. And I can access this directly from my Copilot Chat interface. So, notice that one of the things that I have in this option of the gallery is exactly that. I can have it, the grouping of my Copilot chats. Maybe I have this based on the business function, based on things that I want to do, like create or summarize content. And it is very easy for me to access and to share, and again, to add additional prompts to my gallery. So, let's take a quick look at the Copilot Prompt Gallery. And here we are back at the Copilot Chat interface. Notice that I have my chat history, my conversation history, and here I have my Copilot Chat area. I did mention that the gallery is accessed down here below the prompt area. If I click on More, notice that I have example prompts that came from the gallery. And if I click on this button, Prompt Gallery, it will open my prompt gallery. Here, I have my suggested prompts. I also can look at it based on tasks. Maybe I want to analyze some content. I can look from a job perspective. Maybe I am in sales or I am in marketing, for example. Oh, here we go. I want to evaluate this campaign, and I can look at it from maybe a social media or email. One of the things that's important for you when you are looking at these prompts, look at the content. If I click on the prompt, it will be uploaded into my prompt area, but maybe it may be looking for a file or a website or a content. Always pay attention to that. Now, if I am in the prompt gallery, you notice that I also have in here your prompts. So when I find one of these prompts that I like, I can click on the Save Prompt, and this goes into my prompt gallery. This is one way to add the prompts. But supposedly, I already have an existing prompt that I want to add to my gallery. Let's open my conversation history, and here we are going to see what we just did in the previous example, acting as a project manager. Here's the prompt. And notice that when I click on this prompt, I do have an option to edit. I also have my copy. I have my save prompt. Cha-ching, this is the one that I want. Every time I click on this save prompt, it will allow me to give it a title for my prompt, and I have the prompt area. You cannot change the prompt area, but you can change the title. If you want to change the prompt, you simply click on the prompt to edit. It goes back to the prompt area. You can make whatever change you want, and then you can execute this prompt, and then you can add it to your prompt gallery. So let's say, for example, I want to add this prompt to the gallery, just as is. Cha-ching, it's available in the gallery. Now I can open the gallery, and I can look at my prompts, and here it is. If I want to remove one of the prompts, I can simply click on that, and I say remove from the saved prompts. Or I can click this button to remove from saved prompts if they are the suggested prompts. There we go. So how do I know if the prompt is saved in the gallery? The little button there is light up if I have prompt saved in my gallery. So look at that. So I can only remove from the gallery. I can remove from here as well. Just click on it, and now it's removed from the gallery. So this is a great way for us to increase our knowledge by curating additional prompts to our gallery. Now, to close this module, very much like we did on the first module, we do have another prompt for you for real-time quizzes. Once again, we are asking Copilot to set the stage. So look at the areas of this prompt. It has the expectation, right? I do have here, I'm setting the stage, why I want you to do this. So I'll put your thinking hat. I want you to function as a Copilot Chat. What do you want to do? I want to create my prompts, right? Talk about the prompt gallery with multiple choice questions. In the format, I want to present one question at a time and wait for my response. Now notice that I have three sections in here. What section is missing is the source. The source, I could have said, I want you to do this only from learn.microsoft.com. I could have done that. As a Microsoft Copilot Chat expert, using only learn.microsoft.com, do X, Y, and Z. These are the areas that show great prompting technique. And this brings us to the end of module number 2. In this module, we have identified some of the key elements that makes for a very effective prompt. So we talked about the context. Why do I want this done? We talked about the goal, what I want done. We talked about the source, where's the information coming from, and we talked about the expectation. We also talked about some best practices, some examples of prompts, some do's and some opportunities in there. And finally, we talked about the prompt gallery. And we also learned how to add our own prompts to our prompt gallery. Welcome to module number 3. In this module, we are going to discuss how to work even smarter with our Copilot Chat. So for this module, we are going to be talking about some enhancement of our productivity using some additional examples of the things that Copilot Chat can help us do. So let's discuss some additional examples of those prompts. Let's also discuss collaboration. We saw that I can create documents, I can create content with Copilot. Now we are going to learn how to be collaborative with Copilot pages. So the output of our Copilot can go directly into these pages, and I can collaborate with my team. And finally, let's talk about agent. This is how we are going to automate some of our processes. So I want to be able to do this, and I can create a lengthy prompt, but I can also create an agent that will do that for me all the time. So let's talk about this. Let's leverage Copilot Chat to be even more productive. Let's learn about being collaborative with Copilot pages, and let's learn how to create some agents as well. So we have seen that Copilot Chat can really help us. It can help us summarize the content. We've seen this already, right? Can summarize content to really help us stay informed. Maybe I have some websites, I have some trends, I have some competitor analysis that I want to be able to do. I have some documents that I want to customize, take insights of my spreadsheets, my documents. We talked about brainstorming ideas. We saw some of that today, right? Quickly get some of the insights, draft content, emails, chats, maybe some uh, blog content, a blog content that I want to be able to configure with my teams. Gather insights. Maybe I want to look at details of these files or this content and only take specific content that I'm looking for. Or visualize data. I did mention I can get an image. I can ask Copilot to review this image, create a similar image, maybe different tone, different color, or even a handwritten note. I want to evaluate that handwritten note. And finally, formulas. We talked about creating code, evaluating code, translating code as well. Excellent for that. So what about some prompts that we can try to cover some of these areas? For example, here I talk about summarizing content to stay informed. Maybe I do have a conversation from my CEO. I want to take that transcript or that content. I want to summarize, maybe 100 words or 200 words. Just get the gist out of that. Maybe there's some daily briefings that I wanted to be able to take from a particular industry. Maybe there is a Bitcoin evaluation that I want to be able to do, or some investments. What about if I want to impress my team? Maybe I want to speak a different language or bring some additional words into this conversation. And finally, step-by-step functions, right? I am a runner. I love to run. Maybe I want to prepare for a half marathon in 30 days. I can ask Copilot, help me create a 30-day step-by-step process with my meal plan, my training plan, my rest plan. Copilot is excellent for that. What about brainstorming and drafting content? Maybe I have a specific document that I want to be more formal, more informal. I want to change the content, maybe lengthier, maybe shorter. I can do that, create just a summary, X number of words. Suggest maybe I want to optimize specific content. Maybe my blog is not that good. I want to elevate that. I want samples and names for my blogs, for example. Or maybe questions. I have this document, I'm going to a meeting, take 5 critical questions that I should be able to ask my team to show that I have the insights of that document or that content or that meeting itself. What about the files? I want to be able to write or rewrite content from a particular file. I want to be able to update, make this a little formal, or change this content to this particular customer, sanitize this file for any PII content. What about suggestions of titles for documents, for example? Description, I can upload an image and describe this image in detail, or even analyze data, specific data. Maybe there's a file or a website or a content that I want to be able to review. Other examples could be data visualization. I wanted to illustrate a particular content. I want to create graphs like a line chart or a pie chart and maybe a word cloud. I want to be able to review this graphically. I did mention about generating code, which is excellent for that. But I can also find errors, create a test plan for my prompts. I can also maybe write specific sequences on a particular code or, like I said, translation of the code. And if I have the Microsoft 365 license, I can also ask Copilot. Maybe I want to summarize the conversation I had with my customers or my clients. I want to get the latest emails from this person or the meetings that I had. Maybe help find the specific policies within my documents in my organization, my OneDrive, or even, I want to plan for the day based on specific discussion, specific content. Great way for me to do that. Now, I did talk about Microsoft Copilot Pages. So what is exactly Pages? Well, Pages is a way, as I mentioned before, for us to get the output of Copilot. So instead of having just the output sitting there, what I have to copy, I want to save someplace else, or even leave only on the chat history, now I can take that output, I can save it in these pages. Not only that, it quickly allows me to interact with this. I did another iteration, I can add to my existing pages or create new pages. And at any moment, I can share those pages with my team. I can ask them to come and collaborate in the same pages with me. That's why it makes for a lot more collaborative environment. Now, to access the pages, I want to create a new pages is as simple as take the output of this prompt and say, create a page. That's it. Or if I want to add to an existing page, I can simply say, add to an existing page. And I can then begin to go in and add. And I can add and collaborate directly from that. It is made to be really, really easy and simple. And that's exactly what we are going to do right now. We are going to do a demonstration on Copilot pages. Here we are back at my Copilot chat. Now, to demonstrate pages, notice on the left-hand side, down here, I have my library, I have create, and I have my conversations. So supposedly I want to begin to create some pages. Remember that we created this project plan. This project plan, we asked Copilot to function as a project manager expert, and it created this plan for me. And you remember that at the end of the plan, we asked Copilot to create a Word document. But down here before that, notice that I have this symbol that says added in pages, and I also have more options there that allows me to add to recent pages. Right now, I don't have any pages. So one thing that I can do is instead of copying or paste or save as a Word document, I can simply say, hey, let's add this in pages. And cha-ching, that's it. It's now available in pages and also gave me the name of my pages. But let's say, for example, I don't like that name. I can first copy this name, and I'm going to replace that name with a new name. That's it. Oh, let's put that. Sorry about that. There we go. Acting as a project manager, solar-powered baby stroller. Let's try this area right here. Somehow, it didn't quite capture that name. There we go. Now I have the solar power baby stroller name. Is a new name of my page. Notice that I am there. I am the administrator. I just started this page. And because Copilot put the prompt there as well, maybe I don't want the prompt. I can remove it. And here is my project plan. And notice at the bottom, I also have a couple more things that maybe I don't need them. I can remove those suggestions. There it is. Now, let's say, for example, I want to collaborate with my team. At any time, I can go into my project and I can use the @ symbol and I can type the name of the person that I want to come and collaborate. So let's say I want to share this with Adele Vance. There we go. I can type in the name of Adele, and now Adele is going to receive an email. I'm going to send an email to Adele, and I can say, hey, I want to be able to share. I want to be able to come and do and work on a specific content. So I'm granting Adele access to my page. Up here on the top, notice that I can save this. I can open in Microsoft Word, just as we did by creating the Word document. I can also share. When I click share, I can share the page link, which is a link to this page. If I have shared with someone, they'll be able to open it. And I can also copy the content. If I do copy this content, that means all of this attribute I can put into let's say a chat conversation or an email, and the person is going to have all this content. We call this, it's called the component. The component contains all the content of these pages. Now, when I create this page, what happened? If I close that, the pages still exist. So on the left-hand side in here, I will have my agents, and I should be able to have my pages as well, right? So here we go. So if I look at the library, in this library, I'll be able to get my pages. And under my pages, here it is. I have my solar power baby stroller. I can click on it, and I'll be able to see my document. Now, let's say, for example, that I want to continue to add content to my pages. That way, I can open up my Copilot chat again. I can bring the same exact document that I had, acting as an expert project manager. So if I look at my conversation history, here it is. I can click on acting as an expert project manager. This is the project management that we created. And because this is saved in my history, I have the context of this project management in here. Now, supposedly that I want to add a SWOT analysis. What is a SWOT analysis? Let's ask Copilot to create a SWOT. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat on project management of, let's say, the top 3 competitors in this space, right? Let's say in Australia. Let's say, there is the word competitors. Let's say, competitors. Sorry about that. I wanted to get, oh my goodness, the M is not showing on my keyboard. Apologize for that, team. So I get the top 3 competitors in this space, which means in the baby stroller space in Australia. So let's see what Copilot is going to do with that information. So now it's going to do some research in Australia, look for the competitors in the baby stroller. It brought in Bugaboo. It brought in also the Rad's Baby and the Love and Care Australia Pty. So now I have 3 examples. Supposedly, I want to add this output to my existing pages. So down here, I can click on the button and say add to recent pages. I can get my solar power baby stroller. There it is. And right below the project plan, I now have my SWOT analysis as well. So I can remove the prompt that I created, and I have my SWOT analysis. So this is how I can create my pages, and I can begin to access my pages and collaborate with my team using my pages as well. And as I mentioned, at any time, I can come here to my library, I can access my pages, and if I don't need these pages anymore, I can also delete the pages. There we go. The history is gone. All the pages are gone as well. Now, from pages, we discussed that pages is a great way to collaborate. Now, what about agents? What are the agents? So agents are your AI-powered assistant, but now we are going to use it to automate specific tasks. It's like we are using Copilot Chat, but now we are streamlining these workflows. We are making them, instead of having to write this prompt all the time, we are going to create an intelligent assistant, an agent that will do that for us every time. It's almost like, Elias, supposedly you are my new assistant. When you say, Elias, you are an expert in summarizing documents. Any document that I pass on to you, I want to summarize in, let's say, 200 words or less, 4 bullet points, and I want all the output to be in Portuguese. And that's it. You tell me once, you come by my desk, you throw the document, and you walk away. A few minutes later, you look at me, throw another document, and walk away. What if I can create an agent to do exactly that? That's what the agents are about. Agents are ways to automate these processes. I can do this in real time, and I can personalize these workflows as well. Now, Microsoft has created a number of agents that I can use. An example of these agents that we have created are, for example, the prompt coach. I did mention that Copilot is a great prompt writer. Prompt coach does exactly that. I can write a prompt, and I can say, make this prompt more effective, more clear, more concise, and that's what Copilot is going to do. Idea coach. I want to brainstorm some ideas with someone. I want to bounce some ideas. That's what the idea coach is going to do. Or maybe I want to write. Maybe I will have a nice long document that I want to write a book, and now writing coach is going to help me. Maybe I have some punctuation, I have some ideas, I have some refining, some of the language, some of the grammar, and writing coach is going to help me with that. What about the career coach? We have so many team members that want that, how do I get my career going? What are the opportunities? And career coach is going to personalize these ideas for each individual. And of course, I do have learning coach. I want to learn new content. I want to get some new skills. Learning coach is there for you as well. So these are examples of some of the prompts, some of the agents that I can use right away. Now, supposedly I want to create that agent that I did mention Like, no, hey, you are an expert document summarizer. Here, do this, do it now, do it every time. That's exactly what I can do. I can use Microsoft Copilot Lite. This Copilot Lite means the Copilot Studio here in Copilot Chat. Easy and very simple to create a prompt. In fact, I'm going to show you how to create a prompt with one prompt. Create an agent with one prompt. So I can simply say, let's create an agent. I can describe all the details of the agent or put it all into one single prompt. And then I can go in and execute my agents at any time. So how about we have a quick demonstration on how to create these agents. Here we are back at the Copilot Chat, where we are going to learn how to create some new agents. I did mention about an agent like, Elias, you are an expert summarizer. Let's test this, and from that test, let's create an agent. For example, we are going to set the stage. You are an expert document summarizer. Any and all document that I pass on to you, summarize in 4 bullet points and a max of, let's say, 200 words. Okay? And all your responses will be in Portuguese. Now, I usually tell my Copilot, right? If you understand the task, say so. It's a good idea to see if Copilot understood the task. If you understand the task, say yes. Cha-ching, let's see what's going to happen. And that is your answer. And it is in Portuguese, just as we planned. We are now ready to create an agent. Before I do that, let's see if it does what it's supposed to do. So all I need to do is add a document. So we are going to pick one of these documents that I had. Let's say, for example, reseller sales target. Even though it is a spreadsheet, let's see what Copilot is going to do with it. There it is. You look at the document. It was able to open the document, put in 4 bullet points, and all the responses in Portuguese. Cha-ching, we now can create an agent. How do I create an agent with this single prompt? First, we are going to copy the prompt, just as is, okay, all the way to the Portuguese. Now, up here on the left-hand side, it says agents, right there. I can explore the agents. These are the existing agents that we mentioned, the analyst, the researcher, the writing coach, and we continue to add additional agents. And we have some additional features. And if I have my licensed version, I have additional agents that are created by my organization here as well. To create to create an agent, we are going to click on Create Agent. And when I click Create Agent, we are going to be posed with 2 options in here. First, I have a Configure the Agent, where I can give it a name, and I can set the configuration. Or I also have the Describe. The Describe means, hey, let's add this step by step. I am going to use the Describe agent and simply put in my prompt. This is the entire content of my agent. It's an expert in document summarization. Any and all document that I pass on to it, which is the source, it's going to be summarized in 4 bullet points, 200 words or less, and the output is going to be in Portuguese. Let's see if Copilot Lite understands that and it is able to create our agent. So it is thinking, it is forming the idea, and is going to see if anything else needs to be added. Notice up here it says autosave, and it is ready to be created. It understood the context and also gave us a name of the product. Let's say, love it. Let's do it. That's it. Love it. Let's do it. So now it understands. It's putting all the pieces together for our agent, and then it's going to let us create and save this agent. Now, before I save the agent, I'm going to click on Configure. So notice what Copilot did. It gave the name of our agent, it did a description just as we planned, and then it put in all of these instructions. It said it summarized all the documents in 4 bullet points, 200 words. All the output is in Portuguese. Do not translate. Maintain clarity. Do not include personal opinions, right? So I could very well had additional content added. I could have said, if it is, let's say, PowerPoint, say, I don't do PowerPoints, right? I could say only PDFs and Word documents or CSV. But I didn't. I said any and all document is going to be done. This is great. If I am a busy person, I have so many documents coming at me, I have to go from meeting to meeting, and I have documents from all over the world. Hey, give me just the gist. In a few words, in Portuguese, I'm ready to go. So there we go. I also have the knowledge will come from the document that I'm going to pass on to my agent, and I have some sample prompts as well. Now, just a note, these sample prompts, they are automatically added to the prompt gallery once the agent is created. So now that I have my agent, I'm going to say create. Now, this is my agent, personal agent. And this agent is saved in my environment and is not shared with anyone. But once I create this agent, I can share the agent. I can click share, and I can share with my team, or I can share with everyone in my organization, but it's still my agent. If I delete it, no one else is going to have access to it. And if I say any document, that means any document that I have access to. If I pass to someone else, any documents they have access to, right? So in this example, I am not going to share this agent. I'm just going to cancel and go directly to my agent. Now, what do I need to do to execute this agent? Basically, nothing. All I need to do is add content. So let's pick, for example, this act as an expert project manager. No. Let's pick reseller sales target, for example. And let's say, go, do your magic. And voila, it's going to be 4 bullet points, and it's going to be in Portuguese with 200 words or less. Let's find out if it is going to work on this CSV file. And there it is. My sales target, I have the summarization in 200 words or less, and I have 4 bullet points. And again, I don't need to say anything. I can just start uploading more documents, and all the output is going to be exactly the same. And up here, notice I have my resumo de documentos. My agent is available, and any output of my agent is also coming to the conversation. So anytime I use my agent is available in my conversation. All right, so this is our agent. And as I mentioned, when I have my Copilot, my agents, anytime I open my prompt gallery, the agents are going to be there as well. Okay, the prompts that I have created are going to be in the prompt gallery. And this brings us to the end of our module. To close this module, very much as we did on the previous modules, we do have a prompt as well. Again, we are going to set the stage by asking Copilot to be a Copilot Chat expert, create those multiple choice questions about the enhancing the multi-choice questions and the configuration of our files, uploaded files, and also working with Copilot pages and the agents. And ask us one question at a time, wait for our response, and then provide a clear explanation. And again, I encourage you to try these prompts and customize them to fit your need. So what did we discuss in this last module? This was an exciting module because we were able to look at how to be even more productive. We were able to cover some of the brainstorming ideas, some examples that we can do with Copilot Chat, but also we were able to talk about Copilot Pages, a true collaboration tool, allows me to create to get the output of my Copilot Chat and put directly into pages, edit those pages, invite teams to come and collaborate, they can continue to work with their Copilot and just add more to a single page. Great collaboration. And finally, we learned about Copilot agents, our AI assistant. I can then automate those processes, and I can do it very quickly. As you saw, with a single prompt, I can create an agent. It really expedites our way of delivering value in our organization. So what next? What are we going to do for next steps? Don't let it stop in here. Let's continue our learning. Now that we went through these 3 modules, we know exactly what Copilot Chat is. We know how to use it. We talked about the license. We know that it is our AI-powered assistant, right? It is there with us, supporting our processes, our flow, helping us be more collaborative, more intelligent on the way we do things at work. It is really enhancing our productivity. In module number 2, we talked about the prompt. Prompt is the way to communicate with our Copilot. So we saw example prompts. We saw the 4 parts that makes for more productive, more cohesive prompts. We talked about the do's and don'ts, and also the prompt gallery. And we close our session with Microsoft 365 collaboration, including pages and with our agents. But again, this is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning. I encourage you to go back into Microsoft Learn and to exercise, to complete these modules. In fact, on module number 3, you are going to have a follow-along exercise. This is an example where you are going to play the role. You are a business operation associate, for example, in this organization, mid-size, and you have a summit that you want to be preparing for. So in this example, you're going to have a task where I'm going to summarize some industry trends. We're going to brainstorm and draft some sessions. We're going to also visualize the agenda and draft a planning document. And of course, collaborate, generate some files, and collaborate with Copilot pages. Great way to put all of what we have learning here into perspective for your learning. And with that, I want to say thank you for attending today's session. I hope that you are excited, as I am, about Copilot Chat, and you are looking forward to put all that you have learned into perspective and continue on your Copilot journey. So thank you, and until next time.